Hello, Steve White, Steve White 89. Well, I've been doing a bit of a Friday the 13th marathon for the last week. I normally do this every year, well, every Friday the 13th, but normally just for the weekend. This sort of extended into the week, so I kept finding all these specials and documentaries that I either didn't watch last time when I found them, or have come up since. And there's also a podcast called Happy Horror. I forgot what they're called. Happy Horror something. Damn. I was trying to give them like a shout out, and it's like I didn't get the name right. But I think they started up during the like a year or so ago, and they've interviewed pretty much, well, not everyone, but they've interviewed a lot of impressive people. Kimberly Beck, Adrian King, Amy Steele, Tom McLaughlin. That's the Tom Matthews. Basically, a bunch of the actors and actresses from the movies, and some of it's been very interesting. Probably the most interesting thing was because there's sort of some mysteries about the Friday the 13th series, and that's good. There should be. It works when there's mystery. When you explain things too much and you can't trust the audience, so you have to be like, no, Jason's still alive. Stuff like that just really undermines the film and stuff like that. But one of the things that's most interesting was the ending of part 2 and the whole what happened to Paul. They left it ambiguous, and no one sort of knows why, because people have asked the actors, why weren't you there? Where did you go? Was that a dream sequence? Are you dead? Are you just in another ambulance? Have you already been taken off and Ginny just doesn't know what's happening because she was unconscious? What is it? And people have tried to explain this, and I'm not sure they have. But one of the most interesting things was Amy Steele talking about the script treatment, or script. I think she got a script itself that was meant to be part 3, because part 3 apparently originally was supposed to be involving her, and there seems to be 2 versions of it. One is that she's being stalked by Jason again in her life. The other is that she is directly taken to the hospital after the film and being stalked in the hospital, and allegedly that was too much like Friday Halloween 2, so they didn't do that. But whether they just then wrote it where 5 years later she was a student and then Jason comes back and she was being stalked and no one believed her, and that was the script that she was talking about, that it was 5 years later she was a student, no one believed her, people thought she was crazy, they were making fun of her, she was the town joke, because apparently they didn't find Jason, and she just was telling everyone that this boy had done it all, and no one really believed her, and they thought that Jason was a myth. And that certainly makes Jason more interesting and makes the whole situation more believable in some way, that they didn't really know what it was, and Jason was sort of still this mystery rather than just this killer that everyone knows about and just does nothing about. But one of the interesting things was Paul. Apparently she went to the laundromat or something, and basically Paul's head was in the washing machine. What she didn't say, and I don't know if the script said it, was it Paul's recently decapitated head? Was he alive? Did he survive? Because she would have found out not long after leaving whether he was alive or not, obviously. And was he alive at that point, just off doing his own thing, and then Jason killed him and brought the head? Or did he kill him at the time and take the head, and this was like in part 2 that was shot, where Mrs. Voorhees' head is in the fridge, and it's her head that's been decaying for 5 years since she was decapitated. So was it like that sort of scenario where it's not just the head, but it's also the rotting head? But yeah, they didn't go that route. Amy Steele didn't want to do 2 horrors back to back. She kind of feels this was a mistake now. But I don't know, because 3, it's its own film. I think if they just continued 2, it wouldn't have been as fun. And then what would have happened with Friday with the 3D, would the 4th film have been done a year sooner as a 3D film to capitalise on that? Or would this film have been 3D, in which case it would all the hokey sort of camp sort of fun element, because they want to make 3D more of an experience and more of a fun sort of ride sort of thing, as opposed to like a serious sort of horror film, dark sort of horror film, and literally they couldn't shoot it dark because the 3D doesn't work without a lot of lighting. So there's a lot of things, a lot of elements that's all interesting. What I want to know, and I'm like, obviously Amy Steele isn't going to be listening to this, but if anyone else is who knows if Paul's head, if it was his head from years ago and he died at the end of the film, or was he alive at the end of the film and alive up until that point, I'd like to know I probably should just ask Amy Steele, you know, but, you know, I don't have any contacts. I don't know how to, you know, so I just wondered, does anyone know this? I'm just curious, but feel free to share, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think. I did find all the talk of the variations and things that didn't happen really fascinating, like, you know, Jason's father going to be in part 6, but then they felt, well, we already had a copy killer, we don't want to sort of have another person who might take over from him like the father is, blah, 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 blah. Is he going to sort of do like the mother did Vengeance, you know? So it didn't happen. Then we saw him in the fan films, which kind of worked, but then, you know, it's interesting. It's all interesting, you know. I'd love there to be a little bit of a multiverse, which has sort of happened now. We've had one reboot that's sort of, don't know if they're going to continue it or what, but it'd be interesting to see, at least in comic book form or maybe in fan films, where all these different sort of possibilities go and doing some of these things. But we'll see. Some of that's already sort of happened, but, you know, we'll see.